Welcome everybody, you're watching Mr. Fugu Data Science. Today we're going to deal with date time formatting with a few examples in Python. We're going to look at timestamp, string dates, extracting information from date time. There will be multiple examples. This is not an exhaustive list. You have tons of different things you could do with all this stuff. I highly suggest you look into it on a case-by-case basis for any data that pops up in your life. This is just a primer to get you started. There's citations in the bottom if you want to do further reading. Here are my socials. Feel free to hit me up. All the code will be in the link description below. Let's get started. These are the basic imports that we're going to have forward now. Each individual example may have different imports on a case-by-case basis while we're going through all of this. Now this is an actual example that I had to do. It came up recently. I subset these data so we could look just at the date time formatting today. This is a timestamp. This timestamp though has something goofy going on with it, and I had to look at it and realize what was wrong. Two things I need to mention as caveats. This is highly important. One, if you're using this to run it in a database such as Postgres or MySQL, because of these NaN values. Second, depending on the function you're using to manipulate these date time formatting, you may have issues. I'll show you one particular example where this did come up. We take these data and we need to manipulate it because we have extra trailing zeros here. So what I did to account for this was instead do a division operation to remove these extra zeros. We didn't have to worry about the scientific notation. That's already inferred when you're going along with this, and we're running this by row. I used next an apply function which would allow me to take the updated information with the correct number of digits, which would be 10, and convert it to a date time formatting. If an error pops up, just coerce it. We don't need this UTC formatting, but if you wanted it, you have that option, and this is what it looks like. Our units will be seconds, so that'll allow us to go to this range. I do a second apply function which will take our lambda function where I'm converting this into a string F time formatting. So I'm converting our date time into a string date. That's what's going on. Converting this to a string date from a date time. There's another one which will come up which will have a P which goes in the reverse. We're going to cover that later. So here's what we got after we do our final manipulation. This is the correct formatting if you're trying to throw it into MySQL. FYI. That's why I did this, because that's what I was working with it at the time. The next thing is, what if we wanted to expand this and actually have the time range? You can do that as well. You could just add that same thing on to what we did for this last statement here, and now you have the time with the date. You could negate this if you want and just print it off with the space, whatever suits you for your application or your needs. I have Buy Me a Coffee channel memberships as well as super thanks. An alternate example that we're going to deal with real quick. Here's two imports that we're throwing in for our next example. What I decided to do is use the time.time. This allows me to take the current time of what it is right now where I'm at. So let's do that and figure out what's the time. So here's the time as a timestamp. We want to convert that timestamp into a date time formatting. From there, let's print that object off and see what it looks like. Let's work with our converted time information that we have and convert it into a string instead. So here's our string data. Here's a different formatting to see what that looks like. Here's just a month, day, year, and the time. Here's a day, an abbreviated month, and the year. This is the abbreviated month. If you use the uppercase, what happens? We get the full month name, and then what's this goofy looking thing with I and a P? That's giving us our time. So we're working with the time that it is now. It's 7 o'clock right now where I'm at, 7:07 at night. Let's do a string date time. So we're starting with the string value here. So we have this dictionary with a date as a key, and our values are dates. This is extremely important, and I did this on purpose to show us where something can fail. So we have our empty little string right here that shows nothing. So we go down here and we have one more new import. When you're using this right here, this date util, you have to do a pip install. This is not native to Python. You have to do a pip install for that. At some point in this notebook, I have it listed for you to do the pip install for it. We're using the parser. So this parse is allowing us to parse a string, date, and time. Not all these examples are going to work with this. The first example, it looks like we're good, and we got an NA time. So it's just like an equivalent of a NaN. Here's a different one where you're using actually pandas to convert this same thing to a date time. So it's the same exact thing. We have as type, and you want to force it to convert into a date time 64 with your little nanosecond here. This lambda panda function is where we had the error, and I had to just put this if else statement because otherwise it would not work if I did this. We have it working, but we get this error if I don't use it. We scroll down and say string does not contain a date. The empty string we had does not contain a date. Now we got one more little example. We're going to feature our apply function once again, working on this one particular column. We only had one column anyway, but who cares? And you got this pandas timestamp. So that data that we had before was a timestamp. So this right here is parsing our string and converting it to a timestamp. This now convert a date time string to a timestamp. We take this string with today's date, sometime this morning, and we're going to import date time. So we're doing date time, calling the method of date time, and then the string p time. This is the one that I said earlier, which is the reverse, where you're taking a string and converting it into a time. In this case, we're converting it to a timestamp. If this was an F, it's the reverse version. Here's the formatting I chose to use with the year, month, day, hour, minute. We run the same thing, but instead now we're converting it into a timestamp. And here's what we got if we needed to save for any reason. Let's work on some manipulations real quick. We're going to grab the week or the month name from a given date. We're just going to use the date time in this example. We're taking this particular column name and we're using the pandas to date time, which has an underscore, and we're going to convert this particular column. We're going to use the apply function since we're going to work with a data frame and not force us to use any looping, and the synonymous function, which will just be our lambda, and we're going to call the weekday actually, and we'll see it here. This is providing us with the actual numerical day for the week, not the actual name. If you want the actual name, you run the same exact thing, cut and paste, and you change this little dot notation here to call the day. And if you notice, instead it's counting 0 as Monday. And how do we parse this? We parse this originally from this created date, which is this. So we use this specific date to convert and find our days. If you wanted to get the month, you could get the month name right here. This is what I was talking about for that pip install, so you can use the Python date util. Feel free to read this right here. There's some cool uses that are pretty useful for this. Here's the 2 imports you need for this particular example. What is this saying for now? This is the time it is right now with the day, the hour, 7 p.m. It's 14 minutes after 7, 10 seconds, and then all these little milliseconds or whatever, right? Here's a string split that I did. So for example, if you're throwing this into a list and you wanted to provide 2 separate columns or have a distinction between days and hours and seconds, if you were doing some kind of analysis or, for example, plotting, which would be useful. Let's do some parsing of various date time strings real quick. So here's our parser. Remember, there was another one called parse that we used before. This one is allowing us to take strings. We're parsing strings, and it's pretty cool because you could put various formats as you see in each of these examples, and it parses these out. You have full day, you have an abbreviated month, you have the day of the month, you have the time, and then you have the year, and it's all separated by a space. It still could read it. You have an abbreviated day with a comma, you have the actual numerical day with the dot, the month, the year, and then the time as an AM. So you see each of these, it was able to parse it and throw it into formatting that's very useful if you're using this for a data frame. The last portion of this, which is extremely important, is the fact that you could also do manipulations if you know you have a 2-digit year. And we know that this first portion, for example, if we knew this for the data we were working with was the 2-digit year in this position, this is relevant. And here we go right here. The next part we have is let's find the day of the week within a given time period, where we're going to use the pandas date range. So we're taking this date range where we're going the frequency by day for 3 periods starting from 2 days ago, and it's printing out here the day name. We could also do the same thing, and what else could we print out which would be cool? Who knows? Let's see. Let's find out what else we can do. Let's scroll down, just do Shift Tab, and you can read the documentation. You have so many options of dealing with dates, it could really be daunting. We can go through date ranges to manipulate and start playing, where we converted this to a pandas series and we're going by day. Then you see this DT, this date time method that's in here, and we're calling the date of the week. So let's look at that, and this is the numerical version versus the actual name that we're dealing with. We have the option of taking this date time, throwing it into pandas timestamp, amp, and we're going to go by seconds and do 3 periods of this. And we're taking the date range of pandas. Here's the formatting that we want, where we're taking the full month name instead of the abbreviated, which would be the lowercase b. We're taking the day, the year, and then we have our time. And if you notice, we have AM. But what if we do this? Now we're doing the abbreviated day. We still have the day, we still have the year, and we still have the time with the AM portion. Okay, perfect. What if I change this to 19 and those to convert it to PM? So what did we do? We took a panda's date range, we converted a string into a timestamp formatting. We want to do 3 periods of this, and we want to do it by second. We start at 0, we go to 1, we go to 2. You could do it by hour, 10 and 11. The next thing is we have delta time. Time deltas are really cool, and this is something useful. So this is going with the current time you're dealing with, and we're taking that current time we're dealing with, and we're going 20 days from now, 4 hours and 5 minutes from this specific time of now. And what will happen is we'll end up with the 26th of August at 11:25 p.m. 17 seconds and change. I once again split this because you never know. A lot of times you end up having to use this for graphing or any manipulations in a database or Excel or whatever you have to do to export. Here's some of the abbreviations we did, and I'm going to leave us here. Here's my socials. Once again, feel free to hit me up. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you subscribe, turn on that notification bell. Now, feel free to help support the channel. I have Buy Me a Coffee channel memberships. I'm going to have a store soon, as well as super thanks. Thank you to everyone who's helped support the channel. I really appreciate it, and everyone who emails me for help and allows me to make videos if possible. Thank you for everything. See you in the next video. Bye.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head.